Why do we keep falling for the same kind of person, even when the story already feels written? The names change, the faces, the words, the promises, yet something inside recognizes the pattern and follows it again. Carl Jung believed this isn't coincidence, it's reflection. Life, and especially love, repeats what we haven't yet understood. Every attraction, every heartbreak, becomes a quiet mirror, where the unseen parts of us finally appear. Love has never only been about another, it's always been a conversation with the self. There is a moment in every connection that feels strangely familiar, as if the soul remembers. That feeling isn't fate playing romantic games, it's recognition. The heart senses a vibration it once buried. When we fall for someone's calm, perhaps it's our own peace we've forgotten. When we chase someone's warmth, perhaps it's our own light we abandoned long ago. Jung called this reflection the shadow, the collection of all we deny, all we repress, all we hide from ourselves. And in love, that shadow becomes the magnet. We don't just meet people, we meet the missing parts of our wholeness wearing human faces. Love begins in wonder, but underneath that wonder is memory, the memory of what still seeks completion. That is why the chemistry feels electric. It isn't only desire, it's the soul whispering, here is another chance to see what you've refused to see. The more powerful the attraction, the deeper the mirror. Sometimes we are drawn to gentleness because we once lived in noise. Sometimes to distance, because we fear closeness. Sometimes to control, because we lost our own power. The mirror doesn't flatter, it reflects truth. And the truth always wants to be seen. In Jung's language, projection is how love paints the outside world with the colors of our inside world. We don't see people as they are, we see them as we are. We idealize, we dream, we blame, all through the filter of our own past. We fall in love with potential, because it resembles the part of us still waiting to bloom. We judge, because the traits we condemn in others are the ones we secretly carry. It's a strange dance, each heart reflecting the other's unseen face. And the longer we stare at that reflection, the more we confuse it for reality. We think, this person completes me. But love never completes, it reveals. There is tenderness in this discovery, but also pain. Because mirrors do not lie. When love shows our beauty, we glow. When it shows our wounds, we call it heartbreak. Yet it's the same mirror. Every silent distance, every unreturned message, every argument that repeats, all of it points inward. The heart whispers, look closer, it's not about them, it's about what still aches inside us. That is the moment Jung's wisdom begins to live, when we stop chasing explanation outside and start listening within. Before we move deeper, if this reflection feels familiar, remember to like or subscribe, not just for the channel, but as a small act of saying yes to understanding the heart more gently. Let's dive back in. There comes a moment when the mirror turns harsh, when the reflection is no longer beautiful, but painfully honest. Love that once felt safe starts to reveal the cracks we tried to hide. The connection that made us feel seen suddenly exposes all the ways we've been invisible to ourselves. This is the ache that confuses so many hearts. The warmth that once felt like home becomes cold, uncertain, distant. And yet, it still pulls us in. Because the mirror doesn't break to punish, it breaks to reveal. When a relationship falls apart, it feels like the world collapses. But in truth, what collapses is the illusion of who we thought we were through the eyes of another. We built identity through reflection, I am loved, so I exist. But when love withdraws, the reflection fades. And the question rises, who am I, when no one is looking back? That's the mirror's hardest lesson, to see ourselves without needing another's gaze. Jung called this moment the confrontation with the shadow. It is when the heart faces what it projected outward and begins to reclaim it. We start to see that the tenderness we craved is the tenderness we withheld from ourselves. That the rejection we feared was the echo of our own self-doubt. That the control we hated was the reflection of our own unhealed need to feel safe. This is not blame, it is awakening. Every heartbreak becomes a quiet classroom, and the lesson is always the same: what we see outside is what we need to meet within. Pain is not the opposite of love, it's part of love's mirror. It teaches us to separate illusion from essence. When love is young, we search for completion. When love matures, we search for understanding. That is the moment of inner growth, when the question changes from "why did they do this to me?" to "what does this reveal in me?" The mirror doesn't only show flaws, it shows potential. Every reflection is an invitation to meet the self with honesty. There is a voice beneath the noise. It whispers quietly, almost hidden beneath the grief. It says, "Don't look away. This pain is sacred." It's the beginning of clarity. When the reflection feels unbearable, that's often when transformation begins. Because the light of awareness always enters through the crack of the broken heart. The mirror hurts because it shows truth, but truth is the only thing that can free us from repetition. After the storm, something settles. Not instantly, not neatly, but slowly, like dawn after a long night. We begin to see that every person we loved was a messenger. They carried lessons disguised as chemistry, as attraction, as destiny. We recognize that the faces were different, but the story was the same wound searching for closure, the same soul longing to understand itself. This is the mirror effect, life reflecting us until we awaken enough to recognize the pattern. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Love often feels like fate. But Jung would remind us, it's not fate that chooses. It's the unhealed self repeating its reflection until awareness steps in. When we finally see clearly, the pattern loses power. The mirror stops deceiving and starts teaching. That is the true beginning of love, not the search for the perfect reflection, but the courage to meet what it shows without running away. Awakening isn't sudden. It's the slow realization that we were never really chasing others, we were chasing the parts of ourselves we lost along the way. Love was the compass, pointing us inward all along. Every relationship, every goodbye, every moment of closeness or distance, was trying to bring us back to the center of our own being. And when that awareness dawns, the mirror no longer frightens. It becomes sacred. We see that every face we've loved was a reflection of our own evolution. Every heartbreak, a gentle hand guiding us home. That's when love transforms, from desire to understanding, from grasping to grace. When awareness arrives, it doesn't erase the past, it simply changes how we see it. The people who once felt like mistakes start to look like mirrors that helped us remember our shape. There's no longer guilt, only gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons that broke us and rebuilt us into something whole. Healing begins the moment we stop asking "why did this happen?" and start whispering "what did this teach?" Every reflection has meaning. Every connection was chosen by something deeper than chance. Jung believed the soul is always guiding us toward individuation, the process of becoming one with ourselves. And love, in all its beauty and confusion, is the soul's favorite tool for that journey. When we stop fighting the mirror, we start seeing its beauty again. Not everything we see is pain. Sometimes it's resilience. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's the softness that survived, even after being hurt. That's when love changes shape, from something we seek, to something we are. Love becomes less about possession, and more about presence. Less about being chosen, and more about choosing to stay open. Because the purpose of love was never to fill us, it was to remind us that we were never empty. When the mirror is understood, it no longer rules us, it reveals us. We stop repeating old stories. We stop blaming destiny. And we begin to live with awareness. We can meet new love without the weight of old projections. We can give without fear of losing. We can stay without clinging. And we can walk away, without bitterness. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of wholeness, the state of being where love is no longer about completion, but connection. There is a stillness that follows awareness. The heart no longer rushes to fix, or to chase, or to control. It simply listens. And in that listening, it discovers peace, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's reflection. Because once we see ourselves clearly, the mirror becomes silent. It no longer needs to shout through longing or pain. We understand now. The people who triggered us were not villains. They were guides, reflections of our hidden chapters, messengers of our becoming. In time, love returns, not as obsession, not as need, but as presence. We start recognizing beauty everywhere, in music, in laughter, in simple moments of stillness. We stop searching for mirrors and start living as light. And in that light, every connection feels sacred again because it no longer hides a wound. It reflects truth. That's the quiet miracle of awareness. Nothing outside changes, yet everything looks different. Perhaps the greatest secret of love is that every reflection was always trying to guide us back to the same place, home. Not a home in another person, but a home within. When the mirror clears, what remains is simplicity, gratitude, a soft smile for all the versions of love that once hurt, but ultimately healed us. Love has never been about finding the right person. It's about becoming ready to see ourselves clearly. And once that happens, the mirror no longer frightens. It becomes an ally. The story of love is the story of awakening, of learning that the faces we loved were reflections of our evolution. We were never lost. We were simply learning to see. Thank you for being here with me. Take care of your heart. And may love always guide your path.